Okay, so you've probably watched my ranking, not my Air and Empire review and Base Self review, which are two trilogies. Well, these are the two trilogies I've reviewed. These both trilogies now, because those are the only trilogies I have not reviewed for the channel. Because these are the two trilogies I've gotten to this year so far. And now that I've reviewed every trilogy I've read, like, in the past couple years, I'm going to rank them. So, this is now, I know there's a bunch of trilogies. Right now I'm going to name a bunch of trilogies I have not gotten to, so if it's on the list. I haven't gotten to the Asimov, the Foundation trilogy. I haven't gotten to the Red Rising trilogy. I haven't gotten to the Farseer trilogy. I haven't gotten to, what else, other trilogies have I not gotten to? A bunch, like, I think, I've not gotten to Kane Chronicles. I've read the first book. And I've not gotten to a bunch of other trilogies, so. These are all the trilogies I've read, so don't be offended if that's not my favorite. So I'm ranking it from my least favorite to my favorite. And I read this about a year to 2 years ago, I think right as I was starting this YouTube channel. This is my last place, but these are all pretty good. The Hunger Games trilogy, I do think this is a very solid YA, I think. I love when YA breaks its boundaries. I don't have really a problem with YA fantasy. I think dystopian fantasy, it's just kind of getting boring. But this thing did kind of revolutionize dystopian. Hunger Games. The only thing that makes it down in this series is basically just like the forced love triangle and the ending. The ending really kind of, I wasn't mad at it like most people are. I was disappointed in it. And yeah, I don't really have great feelings on it, even though I did remember liking the series. But I don't have great feelings on it anymore. So that's I think that was my last place, but still. I think the next place is this is my favorite Rick Riordan books, but it's that low on the list, which kind of scares me. But these are Magnus Chase. I do not think people talk about Rick Riordan enough. At least like adult fantasy people I watch. Like, I still have so much respect for Rick Riordan. I will continue to review the novels that he puts out. Even though I review like the older, I read and review kind of adult books, but I will still read his books because they're amazing, and this is my favorite because I love Norse mythology. I've gotten a lot of recommendations because of my love for Norse mythology to read Shadow of the Gods, which I think releases yesterday, but like, yeah. And I really do want to read that. I think I might pick that up, but I don't know. Who knows? But I love this series. There's so many reasons I love this series. It's influenced with Norse mythology. But it's different, because when I read this, all I knew about Norse mythology was stuff I learned from Thor. And that's not a lot. So, yeah, I'm very happy with this series, and this is my favorite Rick Riordan, and you don't need to read. I wouldn't say you need to read any other Rick Riordans before that. So if you're interested in Norse mythology, you should try to read that. Ooh, okay, so this is a hard one, because my favorite book of all time is in this trilogy. But I'm still going to rate it here at this point. The Dune, the first Dune trilogy. There's two Dune trilogies. And Dune, Messiah, and Children of Dune. The reason why this series is so high is basically because of the first book was so amazing. And these books were good. These books were solid enough to keep the story going, but they're obviously not Dune quality. And I think these are the two books that bring them down because this is my favorite book. These still continue on with the storylines I love with Dune, but just not like in crazy amazing ways. Just to tell you, Dune Messiah, this short with the thick pages. Like, these are thin. Dune's almost 700 pages. Let me check. It's almost 700. Oh, I never noticed this map here. But never mind that. The Dune's amazing. Like, and then these, like, the trilogy keeps it going, which is cool because I like it how the story's not ending. And it's like, because it's really not this. I mean, Dune is the story of Paul Atreides. I don't feel like Dune is only Paul Atreides' story, because it's not, because there's so many more amazing parts of this book. So I do love these Dune books, and yeah. Though I hear a lot of people don't really like the sequel Dune books. I think they're okay. They're solid books, but they're nothing on par with Dune, and I think that's why a lot of people not really love it as much. So the next, okay, apparently I forgot to do the Thrawn trilogy. So I forgot this in the original cut, so I have to put this in. But next up is the Thrawn trilogy. Holy cow, this was amazing. These really these kind of made it here. These did it for me for Star Wars. I think this is one of the peaks of Star Wars, and I wouldn't say better than the original trilogy, but I would go as far to say on par with the original trilogy. So that's a lot. It's saying a lot for the Thrawn trilogy. And if you're not read it, you're like, okay, these don't look like they're mass market paperbacks of Star Wars, and I've never heard of them, which is probably true because they're not canon, and Disney refuses to do canon books. So yeah, that's just, I don't know. But these are for sale, so you should buy them. Even though Disney doesn't promote them, I'm very mad about it. But these things are amazing, and yeah, these made one of my favorite trilogies of all time. And don't let their mass market paperbackiness deceive you. And if that really bothers you, just get the audiobooks or because I read mass market, but I just don't like it. So yeah, that's my Thrawn trilogy. So next one is very hard for me to place because this is one of I just love this trilogy. First Law, I love First Law. I just did my review on it. If you want to see me talk more in depth on First Law, you can hear me do that if you care. But First Law is quite amazing. It's a really, really amazing story. And it's just executed perfectly. And the character work is brilliant. And these characters are the reason why it's so high. It's really good. It's totally, totally worth it. And yeah, I didn't expect me to love it that much. And it's one of those book series that only grow on me. You like it when you start it, and then once you, a couple months, weeks after, you're like, hey, I like that more. You have a better look on it. So yeah, First Law, quite amazing. The next book series I have is one I do not talk about enough. It's very under talked about on this channel. Even though I've made 4 videos on it. I need to do more Cosmere stuff. It's the Mistborn trilogy of the. I've done reviews for all of you. I've done a big review of all of them. I've done individual reviews, and I've done a why you should read Mistborn. But I still don't talk about it enough. I could be a Mistborn only channel and I wouldn't talk about it enough. That's why there's so much stuff in this series. The magic system is, to date, the best I've ever read. Because I love it how it's very it feels like it would make the magic system, not the story, I could make a good video game, but the magic system especially could make a good video game. Because it's very elemental. It's okay, if you have this, you can do this. If you have this, it would make a very good video game. And here's this board game, so I need to check those out. But the characters, Vin is one of the best protagonists, and so is Ellen's. And I love it how the first book is kind of Vin's story, and the second book is kind of Ellen's, kind of more focused. And I love it how they, it's with trilogies, you have to, it's usually one conflict to do the whole thing. The conflict kind of rolls between the whole thing. But, not with, this one's, they defeat the Lord Ruler, first book. And they kind of see the aftermath of that in the second book, which is so original. I didn't know that they were going to defeat the Lord Ruler all in the one book, so which makes it a great standalone. So if you want a good fantasy starter that you don't have to read a trilogy, you can read one, you can read Mistborn, and that's amazing. And even though I highly doubt you can just read Mistborn and just stop there, because Mistborn, it's hard to not finish the whole series. So now, what's my favorite trilogy of all time? Not all time. This is probably my favorite trilogy of all time, but this is the one I've read in the past 2 years. Favorite trilogy of all time, ever. And if you know, so you can probably guess. It starts with the Fellowship of the Ring. In the middle, the Two Towers, and it ends with the Return of the King. Can you guess what it is? Oh, no, because you're not a fantasy fan. You're not, might not. But if you're have not been living under a rock for the past 50, 60 years, The Lord of the Rings, these books are quite amazing. They're classics, and you're like, okay, there's The Lord of the Rings is the most popular, but you sure there's nothing better? Yeah, there's nothing better than The Lord of the Rings. As for fantasy, I mean, I think The Wheel of Time is better, but I think Lord of the Rings has just, like, it's got, like, such a special place in my heart. I audiobooked, like, I had a CD player with the audios when I was, like, 6 when I first read this series, and I would, like, list for Halloween. I don't want to, I have a picture of that, but I'm probably not going to show it. But, yikes, that was, it's awesome. Like, it really, really, like, left a dent in me, and I think this is what got me into fantasy as a whole, basically, because I wanted to read this. I think, yeah. So, I mean, I read this before, and then I started this channel, and I reviewed YA books. And then once I read The Fellowship of the Ring, I was high fantasy since then. So, that's awesome. I think I read The Fellowship of the Ring, and that was the first high fantasy book I read while I was on this, like, high fantasy sci-fi reading spree right now. But these things kind of sparked, hey, like, there's more to the book world than, like, YA. And there's, like, these books are not, like, YA. So there's so much more inside them. You can, like dissect them. And that's why I don't really like YA anymore. Like, I like a middle grade and I like adult fantasy. But I'm not really a YA fan, with possible exceptions, like The Hunger Games. But, yeah, so that was amazing. That's my favorite trilogy of all time. Lord of the Rings, I know it's kind of generic. I was like, oh, it's one of the most popular series of all time. So, but I don't care. So, if you want to see my stack, I think I have pull it over here. It's gonna fall on me. So these are all the. It's crazy to think this is not even how much I've read in a year. This is not even like half of what I read in a couple of years, and it's a lot of knowledge. So I'm very proud of it. And like, you don't think you read that much until you stack all your books that you read, and it's like, I just don't believe it. But all of these trilogies are great. I mean, I would recommend all of them, with probably the exception of Hunger Games, because Hunger Games, it depends on who I recommend it to. I doubt I would read it again and like it as much as I did now, like I used to. But all of these books were amazing, and yeah, it kind of shows you where I've come from, like these to like these. Like, they're very different, but so that's just what I gotta say. But this is one of my longer videos, but all of these trilogies are amazing. So, wait, did I put? Yeah, I did. I didn't even know if I ranked these. I'll check again, but did I have to redo this video if I ranked these? But I'll have to check, so hopefully I rank these. But I don't know. See you in the next video.